Guys, this is my local news station that I listen to. I'm going to go ahead because I checked several sites because I live in this area.
13 News Now meteorologist Evan Stewart. Thanks for logging on and checking out our update on Florence. Love this opportunity to give you forecast than we can in the 3 or 4 minutes that we have during each broadcast. So let's get to the latest on Florence. It hasn't really changed much from where it was this morning. Winds of 65 miles per hour, and it's been drifting to the west here for about the past 12 hours. That's really because it had weakened significantly. You might remember a couple days ago, it was a Category 4 storm, but it entered an area where those upper level winds just really tore it apart and allowed it to weaken down to a tropical storm. And we expect it to remain a tropical storm for the next day or so. Then it's going to exit that area with a strong wind shear, get over some warm waters, and that's when we really look for this storm to strengthen. Here's the official forecast from the Hurricane Center, carrying it off towards the west and eventually the west-northwest. So by Monday, you're south and east of Bermuda. By Tuesday, just south of Bermuda, and we'll talk about Wednesday in a minute. But the Hurricane Center always puts out this cone of uncertainty because the farther and farther out you go in a forecast, the less and less sure you are about where the storm will go. As a matter of fact, by about day 5, the average margin of error is about 200 miles. So that's why the cone gets larger and larger the farther you get out. So remember this as we go into some of these other computer model forecasts, that south of Bermuda around Tuesday, 2 p.m. Wednesday by 2 p.m., looking at a Category 4 storm potentially somewhere here off the southeastern mid-Atlantic coastline, about 450, 500 miles away. But it could be really anywhere here, just north and east of the Bahamas. It could be somewhere here well east of Cape Hatteras, or somewhere in between, somewhere in this circle right through here. And the reason why we have this is, of course, the uncertainty, but also the computer models are quite divergent in where they're forecasting this storm to go. So the first thing we'll look at is all the different computer models that carry it off towards the north and west. Again, here's the official Hurricane Center forecast, and notice it's pretty much in the center of where the models go. Some of them carry it farther to the south, some of them a little bit farther to the north. And over the past few days, we've been noticing in the extended range forecast that they have been shifting a little bit more each time back towards the south and west. And that's certainly why we're looking at the possibility for a landfall somewhere from the mid-Atlantic to the southeast. There's still a chance it could curve out into the Atlantic. I think that window is getting smaller and smaller for that to happen, looking more and more likely that there will be some impacts along the southeastern mid-Atlantic, but we just can't really say where at this point. Now, we have two main computer models that we use, the GFS, the American, which I've colored here in yellow, and the European model, which I've colored here in red. Starting off, obviously, in very good agreement, carrying the storm off towards the west, eventually strengthening. And remember, we stopped it here at 2 p.m. at 2 p.m. Tuesday. We'll stop it here about midday Tuesday. Both computers fairly consistent in keeping the storm south of Bermuda. But it's as we get into Wednesday that we start to see a little bit of a divergent path, and we'll stop it here at Thursday. Notice that the American model brings it onshore somewhere here along the Outer Banks or in areas of coastal Carolina, while the European is back here through South Carolina. That's why there's that cone of uncertainty.
I'm up there at Norfolk area, between Norfolk and Washington, Virginia Beach.
Where the storm might go beyond that Wednesday forecast. And these computers have been shifting. Earlier today, the American model was out here, and earlier this morning it was out here. So it has been backing in closer to where the European model, and that's also slid towards the south and west. Now, talking about the European model, this is the main run of it right through here that brings it up into South Carolina. What we do is do something called ensembles, where we take that initial computer model, the one that brought it here into South Carolina, right in there, and we say, well, you know, we might not know exactly how strong that hurricane is or exactly what the weather conditions are. Maybe it's, you know, the water temperature is a degree or two warmer or a degree or two colder. So we put that new information in and we run the computer model again. And we do that for the European 51 different times. And this is the output, how just a little change in those initial conditions can mean a big difference in the overall forecast track. Think of it like that butterfly effect, that one little change can mean a big difference. And you can see that some of the computer models in this run of the European bring it down here towards Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, up towards us, and curve out to sea. The average of them are very close to what the main computer run or that initial run is saying, somewhere towards South Carolina. Now, that doesn't mean that it will be, exactly this. As a matter of fact, this has changed every computer run. It will change again tomorrow. It will change again on Sunday, and it will change on Monday. But I do expect as we get out there over the next few days, we'll get a little bit of a clearer picture as things come in focus. So here's my initial thought that the biggest risk right now looks to be somewhere from around the northern Outer Banks back down towards just south of Savannah, Georgia. So somewhere here along the southeast, and that's just if you extend that cone out a little bit more, allowing for that uncertainty. It still very well could be down towards Jacksonville or Florida or the Georgia, South Carolina area, Savannah, Myrtle Beach, Wilmington. So again, a lot of uncertainty as we get into that extended forecast. That margin of error at 5 days is 200 miles. If we were to go out 6 or 7, you're looking at maybe 300 or 400 miles as far as a margin of error, and a 300 or 400 mile forecast difference in a location of a storm that is fairly compact can make, again, a big difference. So here's what we know right now. Strengthening is expected over the next few days. That escape path for it curving off to the north and not hitting the U.S., that option is getting smaller and smaller, and there's been a clear move towards the East Coast and a bigger threat for the East Coast and the growing potential for a significant impact along the southeast or mid-Atlantic. Still a lot of uncertainty. And even as we get into the weekend, especially in the Sunday, already starting to feel the swells. We could be dealing with some more rough surf. And even into the early start of the week, Monday and Tuesday, we could already start to be dealing with some beach erosion or maybe some minor issues with some coastal erosion and flooding. So again, a lot to watch. And unfortunately, it's not the only system out there. Here's Florence. 2 new tropical depressions have popped up in the Atlantic here as we've gone through the afternoon. We have tropical depression number 8, tropical depression number 9. Both of these are expected to strengthen into tropical storms and eventually hurricanes, just as a race to see which one is going to be Helene and which one is going to be Isaac. I imagine that the one closer to the African coast will be Helene and this one will be Isaac. And beyond that, a lot of question marks again. We'll really focus on Florence over the next few days, which again earlier was up to a Category 4 storm. We had Gordon, which of course brought all the rain in the middle part of the country. And then we've got Helene and Isaac next on the list. So again, that's what we'll be watching here over the next several days. As we go through the weekend, this is a great opportunity to check your emergency supply kits. It might not be a bad idea to pick up some extra water or things like that this weekend. And just go over your family.
This is my local news forecast.
An impact here.
It happened
Virginia, North Carolina with this storm. So
just about 20 minutes ago.
We'll of course give you all the latest information, and we really want you to stay tuned in case there's a significant change over the weekend. So as we get into early next week, there won't be any surprises. So keep it tuned in and keep up to date on 13newsnow.com, our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter pages, and we'll keep you updated throughout the weekend.
Thank you, guys. God bless. Be safe. I'm going to be watching this channel because it's my local one. Have yourself a great evening.